My name is Bernhard Engel and I joined the conference from far away. I come from Germany. You must know that in Germany we have really a very strong public broadcasting sector with about 45% of the complete share is by the public broadcasters. But in the group in the Joint Industry Committee, I'm also working together with the commercial TV. So it's really a very interesting field. And it is really very interesting to join this conference, even if we don't make in the public broadcasting sector advertising in the new media and the digital media. But I think it's not only about advertising. I think a lot of problems are common to program and advertising, because the only thing that counts is success for the viewer. And therefore we have also very common interests with commercial broadcasters.
What is the role of public broadcasting within a country, and then from your mind the nuanced differences between the BBC, ZDF, PBS?
Public broadcasting, especially in Germany, is born after World War II, and we still see in Germany some organizational details that come from this time. We are really state independent, and the reason why is that public broadcasting should be a whole picture of society and not only for special interest, so we have to respect all groups of population in our program. This is sometimes very difficult, but I think it is also a very exciting issue that we have in Germany.
Actually, just on that, can you give an example of representing different groups? Like we have a program that represents our large Turkish population, or programming that, just examples.
Yeah, I think it is especially important for the political fields that we do not depend on one party. For example, if you compare it with France, the television is very close to the state and to the parties there, and in Germany we have all parties are represented, and all, let's say, the churches are represented, and also the other groups like political parties, the Greens and the Blacks, as we call them, and the Reds, and so on. And we have to take care that we have all program for all groups in the society. Typical thing is political magazines or news and so on. And for example, we have also to care about the children and so on, even if it is not possible to monetize it. However, you should know that in Germany it is allowed to make restricted advertising in television also for the public broadcasters, but it is really very limited, 20 minutes a day and only in the time from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that is really very restricted, but nevertheless it's for our channel about 120 million euro per year, and this is really also an important part. And I think advertising is also part of the whole society, and also I think advertising has a good place also in public broadcasting. I think some people would miss something if there would be no advertising in public broadcasting.
So now just give me, from your perspective, kind of the nuances you see between the German public broadcasting relationship with the public and the state versus France versus the UK versus the US.
The prototype of public broadcasting, of course, is the BBC. It's really very strong public broadcasting also, and they are not allowed to make any advertising. But they are allowed to make, nevertheless, a lot of commercial activities. For example, to sell DVDs and so on. It's really a large field, and a lot of money comes from these activities to the BBC. In distinction to the public broadcasting, we have a lot of state broadcasting in European countries, for example in France and in Spain and so on. And perhaps one indicator for the difference is that the president of France is always allowed to say, I want to speak in the television. And then he comes to the television and he can speak and he can do what he wants. This would be impossible in Germany or also with the BBC. And I think what is similar with the BBC and the public broadcasting services in Germany is that we have something like authorities said, look, that we are making everything right according to the laws that allow us to be public broadcasting. So we have a deal, we receive fees, but we are obliged also to make a specific program.
And then you had mentioned before, can you just talk about how fees are mandatory and collected in Germany versus the UK versus the US or France?
I think, I don't know all over Europe the procedures for the fees, but I think it's the same in Great Britain and in Germany. In Germany, it is not a fee that you pay directly to the state. It's a special organization, and you pay the fee to the special organization. But also with a fee, we have the possibilities that you don't have to pay a fee. For example, if you are belonging to the poor, or let's say if you cannot hear or something like that. So we have some social aspects, and these social aspects cost about 500 million euro per year.
But generally, your average German citizen is paying, what do you say, about 150 euro a year or 200?
Yeah, it's per household, and the average German household pays about 250 euro per year for radio and television, because the fee is both for radio and television. Yeah, I joined here the panel of the ARF, and you should know that Horst Stipp, who managed this panel, is also a German, and therefore we are in contact with him. And the topic was about global challenges. And I think the main challenge is that TV is no longer a medium on a device. TV is an ecosystem. You have very different parts of TV, let's say public broadcasting, and not public broadcasting, that we have public viewing, or we have viewing mobile, and we have viewing via the internet, and we have also ambient media for television and so on. And there is a different need for information within this ecosystem. I think if you compare, let's say, public viewing with interactive TV, you do not need the same information. You have something like a core of information for all parts of the TV ecosystem, but you have also very specific needs for information. And I think it is a difficulty how to handle this, and there we have also a discussion. We do not have a unanimous meaning about this. How should we make a strategy one fits all, or whether we need specific strategies for different kinds of television. Because we have different platforms, and you have different opportunities to watch TV, you need also specific procedures for measurement. For example, if you have interactive TV, you also want to measure interactivity. And you have public viewing, it is necessary, for example, they have mostly special advertising, not the normal commercial breaks. So you have to measure this.
Actually, just to be clear, when you say public viewing, you mean just someone watching TV on a television, right?
Yeah, in the public space. It is very popular.
Oh, like at a bar or?
Bar, but it is also in Germany very popular. For example, during the FIFA World Championship of football, in the finals, there were about 6 million people watching TV in the public space. So it is really very popular. I think not so much in bars and so on. Okay, we have Sky sports bars for the Premier League and so on, but it is not so much. It is typically event-driven in Germany. In Germany, it is very popular to have catch-up TV. And I think the offer is normally for all channels that we have 7 days after original transmission. And this is really very popular, especially if you go to a series where you have something like a water cooler effect, daily soaps and so on. Then we have up to 10% of the complete usage is via the internet. Because it is really very easy and convenient for the viewers. It's not necessary to record, like with a hard disk recorder and so on. It's just available for you whenever you want, and also wherever you want. You can also perhaps use it in the office or something like that.
So then, in terms for both a media company like your organization, as well as advertisers who maybe are more relevant to more commercial media companies, what are some of the issues and challenges around understanding, you know, online consumer consumption behavior, and for the advertisers then, you know, am I getting what I'm paying for?
Yeah. I think the main difference is that you can compose your program in the internet by yourself. You can pick up very small, let's say, video snacks and not to watch a complete program. Even if you could do it with your own hard disk recorder or something like that, it is in the internet much easier to make your own best of, or to make your own playlists and so on. And I think this will change consumer behavior. It is really difficult, especially for program planning, how to make a good offer, because you don't know whether, for example, if you have a drama of about 90 minutes, you don't know whether people don't watch, let's say, this 10 minutes or other 10 minutes and so on. And perhaps this will be also a change in formats. And a lot of people who come from the cultural side of television say this is the end of culture of television, because people will only consume video snacks and no more program.
So they won't sit on the couch like a potato anymore?
I think there are different developments. We have made in some research a very easy question about the future of television, and we asked, for example, would you like to be your own program director, or do you think that you need more than 300 different channels, and so on. And they agree with a lot of these items. But the highest agreement is with a statement, also in the future, we need a large screen with high video and audio quality. So I think the mood management to be lean back will also be relevant in the future.
Now, you had mentioned that in Germany, kind of video on mobile is not currently a very sustainable business opportunity for either a public or a commercial broadcaster. So can you talk about that, and then how you see the future playing out for mobile video?
Yes, we had in Germany different trials to establish mobile, and they try to make it in connection with events like Football World Championship and so on, but it was really not very successful. With the so-called DMB standard, there were only about 10,000 devices sold, and after 1 year they cancelled the service. And then we have had in the German market some devices for digital terrestrial TV. You have just an antenna on your mobile, and you can watch digital terrestrial TV. This works really very fine, but this is not a business model. And this is the reason why actually you cannot buy in Germany mobile phones with digital terrestrial TV. So now the development of the bandwidth, I think, drives the further development of watching TV with your mobile. And we have very fast nets in Germany, so hopefully we will have also streaming media on the mobile. But nevertheless, the question is whether it is a successful business model. Can you bring the same content to the mobile? I'm not sure. Let's say sports. What can you watch, let's say, if you have football? It is really very difficult to watch. Of course, you can call back the results from a match or the highlights or something like that, but 90 minutes on a mobile, very difficult. Also drama and so on, very difficult. And if you have to produce new content for mobile, it is much more difficult to have a positive return on investment for mobile TV.
So you think mobile is probably a few years away from really having any sort of sustainable business model?
Yes, it will last some more years. I think the internet is coming for the smartphones, and a lot of people, but they only use communication, say short messages and email and so on, but not so much moving pictures. I think we had some events in the past 2 or 3 months where we could see the difference between public broadcasting and commercial broadcasting. Take the case of Fukushima or other events that we had more specific for Germany. And there you see that about, let's say, the vast majority of the Germans watch public broadcasting and not the commercial channels.
To get their news?
To get their news, of course, yes. Especially the news shows is something very specific for public broadcasting. It's about 20 to 25 minutes a news show, and commercial broadcasters do not have something comparable. However, I should say that especially RTL is becoming more and more successful, and they also know that news is really very important for the image. But you also should know that even in commercial TV, there are a lot of restrictions to make something like breaking spots into the news.
Yeah. And then in terms of your audience, you know, in the past 2 or 3 years, have you seen dramatic shifts in where they're consuming their news in terms of television, computer, mobile device?
Yeah, I think the main distinction is that there are a lot of news where you need a pull service, specialized news, also sports and so on. But I think there is also a need that you have also in the future a service where you have a package, an offer from a broadcaster. And because in the internet you are sometimes lost with the information. It is so large, and what is important, what is not important, or what is editorial, what is commercial, and so on. So the internet is very difficult also for the viewers to, they don't know what they should believe, and with public broadcasting they know what they can believe.
So you almost view one of your roles as a curator of information, yeah, and a reliable curator.
Yes, yes. This is one of the main roles, and we are also working hard on it that this image remains for the future.